What's up, everybody? Back here again for another episode of Paddle Talk. Don't forget, you guys can check all of our episodes of Paddle Talk on the WSCN YouTube channel, and also search for us on Spotify by typing in Paddle Talk. You'll get all of our episodes on there. Don't forget to also check out our Facebook, Instagram, and TikToks for other sand drag racing action. Also visit us on worldsandragnews.com, where you can see a list of our world records, schedule of events, articles from past races, a bunch of more stuff. Don't forget, support our sponsors, buy their stuff. And sponsoring this week's episode, once again, is Racing in the Dirt. Racing in the Dirt is your one-stop shop with over 30 years of competition experience. They build chassis, custom DOT cut tires, wheels. Stop by them, racinginthedirt.com, for everything mud, sand, and dirt drag racing. This weekend, we were going to be talking about some cool events coming up. We've got a few interviews hitting. I've got things with the Monson Hill Climb. We're going to be talking a little bit again about the fastest of the fast that we spoke last week with Chris Galloway with. We've got the Greens Raceway full truck race, and joining me this week to talk about all these things, Damian Bowers and Kyle Wiedmayer.
Right.
How's it going, guys? Thank you for joining me.
It's going pretty good. How are you?
We're having fun.
Getting ready for racing in this area, so we'll see how things go this year.
Yeah, the season is slowly starting to pick back up. You know, obviously things kind of start in the West Coast with the warmer weather, and everything kind of migrates towards the east, and we're starting to get that spring thaw, and going to be seeing a lot more racing. So we're a little slow still with some of these events.
Oh, definitely. But with the events that we are getting ready to see, like this weekend, you got Fastest the Fast, probably one of the bigger mud races of the year for the fast track guys and the hill and hole guys. You got Monson Hill Climb, a historic event that's been going on since the 70s with that massive 400-foot hill with the cliffside climb at the top.
Definitely.
You bring your Jeep out there, Damian?
Do what, Kyle?
You bring your Jeep out there, Damian?
No, I ain't got the gas money to make it out to that. That's a bucket list event, though.
Okay.
For sure. And we've actually got some cool stuff already that came up. We're going to kick over real quick to some race results from this past weekend over in Atoka, Oklahoma. We got Derek Howard. Billy was able to catch up with him. The second points race over there. Some pretty cool stuff. We saw Matt Willis run a 3:24 with his new bike, nitrous bike. That's a track record for a non-nitro bike, at least, at Atoka.
Were there any nitrous backfires by any chance?
I didn't see nitrous backfires, K-Dub. I didn't.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're out of the weeds. So all right, keep going.
I know Randy Kimbley also was out there. He's got a new supercharged buggy that he made some passes in. It had a pretty wild pass that we saw. I believe John Acker posted. So just making some cool laps and stuff. So we're gonna kick it over there with Billy right now.
Hey folks, this episode of Paddle Talk brought to you by Racing in the Dirt, coming out of Wisconsin. Scott and Shane Orogi and the crew up there, your source for all kinds of good stuff. They are real wheel dealers. They are also scat track dealers. They can do cut tires, everything from ground up chassis builds to all your supplies needed to get that car together in the last couple weeks here for racing season. Check them out on the internet, racinginthedirt.com, on Facebook. You can find them or get a hold of them directly.
Welcome back to Paddle Talk. Billy Teters here. I'm with Derek Howard of Atoka Motorsports Park, and we're going over their April race winners list. It just happened on April 13th. And Derek, let's just go ahead and get right into this thing, man. What do you got for us? Who got the winner of your guys' Pro 1 class this weekend?
Pro 1 cars, starting the trophy class. That was the two Texans, Brad Civils and the Lethal Weapon car. He took out the second place winner was Chris Jackson from Team 34. So two Texans in the Pro 1 car trophy final.
Nice.
And then moving on to the money, it was JT Holstein, the Jive Turkey racer. The Turkey Killer didn't take him out because he got second. So
Oh, wow.
the
That's
rivalry
crazy.
continues for the Turkey Killer 2.0 and JT hosting, but it was a good race for Daniel Baker, his first time out in his new car, and a second place in the money race.
Well, awesome. Well, shout out to Daniel Baker for getting that new car going. And man, whenever you guys made that post about who's going to win Pro 1 cars, I was full on John Acker. I said John Acker until he loses. And who did John lose to? Do you know?
Jimmy Fletcher.
Jimmy Fletcher took out John Acker. That's crazy. Shout out to Jimmy Fletcher. Shout out to John Acker. Shout out to JT Holstein for getting first place.
Yep. The Bounty Hunters, well, since you mentioned that, John Acker defeated John Pate round 1. That was a bounty on both of them. And then Jimmy Fletcher defeated John Acker in round 2.
What was the bounty on John Pate?
A pack of Miller Lite.
A 12-pack of Miller Lite? That's awesome.
He wanted a 12-pack of Miller Lite.
What was the bounty on Mr. John Acker?
$50 to get him out by second round.
$50 to get him out by second round. And you got him out in the second round, so we got $50, huh?
As far as I know, yep.
There you go. Jimmy Fletcher. Jimmy Fletcher got himself excuse me. Jimmy Fletcher getting himself some money right there just by taking out John Acker in the second round. What do you got for Pro 2 cars?
Pro 2 cars trophy was Luke Heisey again from Texas. He took the win over Bean for that Team 34, Bean Quintero.
Mm.
So Luke's on a row, 3 finals for him in the first 3 races. And then moving on to the money race, Jessica Powell took the win. Second went to Cliff Shull. And the points aren't officially figured, but in my head, I have Luke and Jessica tied for first. Wow. So they both have a win, and they both have semifinal round finishes.
After 2 races, you already got people tied for points. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, keep battling. Keep battling. It's going to be interesting to see as the year goes on, for sure. What do you got for Pro 1 quads?
Pro 1 quads. Let's start off with our new track record with Matt Willis.
Oh.
That's that track record at 3.24 at 98 miles an hour.
That's so fast. 324 at 98 miles an hour at Atoka Motorsports Park. New ATV track record.
Yes.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Shout out to Willis Racing. Shout out to Matt Willis. I know he was getting that thing ready for Kentucky, Shelton's PSDA race. So good for them. Good on them.
And then once again, it was the Bryce Williams show. He took first in the trophy and money, but defeated Randy Kimbley in both final rounds.
Wow.
So Williams is undefeated. If I did my math correctly, it's 13 straight round wins for him.
Well, I got to stop choosing people to win because every time I choose somebody to win, they end up losing to the guy who ends up winning the dang thing. So that's crazy.
Somebody asked me who I'm picking before the final, and I said, I got it picked in my head, but I'm not saying it out loud because I don't want to jinx anybody.
That's funny. And Bryce Williams, shout out to Bryce Williams. That Keith A. hard bike still out there winning races. That's awesome. That's great to see. Moving on, Pro 2 quads. What do you got?
Pro 2 quads, first in the trophy was Anthony Moss, and second was Blake Johnson. That was a repeat of the March race. Both of those, same outcome. Anthony won in March, Blake second in the trophy class. And then in the money, Jace Cassins won first. Second went to Cameron Pate, the 2 youngsters. Nice. That are both still eligible for juniors, but they decided to move up to Pro 2 quads. And an interesting thing about Jace, he missed qualifying and the trophy race. He got there in time for the money, but didn't have time to do any time trials, just guessed, won the race.
That's crazy. You don't need no time trials, it looks like. Get rid of them. We don't need them out. We don't need them around here. We'll win the races without them.
He didn't have an easy first round either because he drew the champ Anthony Moss. So,
oh, well, shout out to Jace. What was his name again?
Jace Cassins. He is part of the Powell family racing team with Gary and Jessica Powell.
Jace Cassin.
He is the nephew.
The nephew. Well, shout out to nephew. What else you got? Pro 3 quads.
Pro 3 quads. First in the trophy was Gage Furham. I know he won something in March. And second was Kenny Ludy. I believe this is, if Kenny's raced before, it was a very long time ago, back when me and Dad had our car. I know he came out there, but I can't remember if he raced or not.
Okay.
First time back and got a second trophy. That's not too bad. And then money, the champ, Nate Moss, took the win over Gage Furham.
Shout out to Nate Moss getting the win right there. You hear that last name pop up a lot over there. What do you got for the kiddos, peewees and juniors?
Juniors, first in the trophy was Callie Russell. Second was Bailey Deems, and this was Bailey's first time to race. She got second in the trophy. Money, Gavin Owens, also pretty new in the class. Second went to Kaysen Shaw.
Nice. Well, shout out to those youngsters.
And Pee-wees, we had 25 entries. A newcomer that first time I've seen this name, Israel Wyatt, took the win. I believe they are with DeQuillian Hill and Greg Wyatt from Amarillo. And second went to Swayze Stevens. Swayze is part of Mark and Anita's Sterling's grandkid.
Oh, cool. Well, good to see that. Good to see that. Shout out to those youngsters out there racing. Now, you guys, let's talk about this real quick, and then I'll let you go. You guys have this rule that says juniors either have to race in juniors or they race in Pro 3 and Pro 2. Is that correct?
Correct.
Why is that?
Because juniors are 15 and younger, and we don't really want them bouncing back and forth, getting the experience with the adults and moving back into more of a kids class.
So you're making them decide you're either
would get more runs in a way too.
You're either a junior that races with the juniors or you race with the adults. You can't do both. And it kind of you guys kind of thought that people were just using it to get more passes or something like that.
Yes.
Oh, well, I would too. Randy Kimbley unveiled a new car this weekend that was supposed to be for his wife, and there was that video that Mr. John Acker posted. That thing went a little crazy. What did you think whenever you seen that car make that pass?
I think once he gets the bugs lined out, which he is very close, it's going to be a very good Pro 1. Who knows? Knowing them, they might even put it in top eliminator. But I thought it was supposed to be a Pro 1 car. I think it did get a 320 before he parked it for the evening. 327, 325. I don't remember the exact number.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. First time out.
For having trouble getting it off the starting line because the wheelie bar was not correct and they just didn't have everything correct on it like they thought was going to happen.
Well, these pictures definitely make it look cool, and he's definitely got the tires for it to make it run a number. And those things they got some meat on the bones for sure.
Yep.
Who's driving his old car? He sold the crude car to somebody else. Who's driving that now?
Oh, William Rainey, which also runs in Pro 2 cars, that has the S10 pickup.
Oh,
Has
okay.
the Crude Awakening old car.
Yeah, so he goes from a Chevy S10 pickup to a blown alcohol dragster.
Yes.
It's awesome. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, hey, thanks, Derek. Thank you for stopping in today and giving us the April race results. We'll see you again for the May race results, and then we're kind of rearing up on the Heartland Nationals as well. So, you got anything to plug about the Heartland Nationals that's coming up Memorial Day weekend?
We're trying to get the format lined out. Hopefully by the end of this week it'll be done. I'm hearing we're having a big turnout from West Coast racers. Hopefully their plans don't get changed. Should be a great event. So that's all I can plug right now.
All right, there you go. Looks like some West Coast guys are coming.
Official that we will have the Thursday night pit party. We just announced that yesterday.
All right, pit party Thursday night on the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend.
Come out and enjoy the pit party.
Yes, pit party is always a good time. Pit party is always a good time. Well, hey, thanks, Derek. We'll see you again in a month to do this again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And we're back. Thank you again to Derek Howard and Billy Teters for giving us a little insight to what's going on over there in Oklahoma. Once again, podcast this week brought to you guys by Racing in the Dirt. Scott and Shane Orogi out of Cleveland, Wisconsin. Chassis designs, wheel adapters, hub kits, tires, you name it, they've got it for the sand, dirt, and mud world. Hit them up at racinginthedirt.com. So we're going to go over here, and speaking of just kind of what Racing the Dirt's a little bit about, we're going to talk a little bit about how the sand drag world kind of has these specialty events where things are run a little bit different. Whether it's a fair track where you're running maybe 200 foot, or some of the hill climbs. We're going to be talking with about the Monson Hill Climb a little bit here. Damian, tell me about some of like the specialty events that kind of you've been involved with, and how being involved with it with your Jeep kind of helps support the 300-foot sand scene.
Well, lately around here in the last several years, I've been working with a promoter in the monster truck world, Full Throttle Promotions. We've gone and done 125 foot, even if it's just a single lane, or like last year and this year coming up in June 8th, we're going back to Florence Speedway. We're going to do some instant green racing. I'm inviting 16 cars at least to go to run at this show. And it's fun to get to run in front of a huge crowd. You don't really see that often in the sand drag world anymore. Also, we have the likes of Gravel-Rama and Last Blast, where Gravel-Rama, we do the hill drags, the big eliminator hill. They have the obstacle course. They have class racing instead of the normal bracket racing we see all year. Last Blast, we bracket race on the side of a hill, 100 foot side by side, and just all sorts of different neat stuff. Like you've mentioned, the fair races, KOI. We went and did one of them last year. It's a real different world there.
You guys put some different tires on the back of that too for that fair.
Yeah, so 38 by 11s or 12s. I can't remember for sure, but they're narrow. It looked like roller skates under the back of it. It would get out there about 60 feet and just start skating around. And it was a handful. But them KOI races, you see a lot of quad guys, a lot of diesel truck guys that you don't see at the normal races, and they're running on a track about as hard as my table right here.
Definitely a different setup. K-Dub, can you tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you've done, whether it's with the Banshee, with the Razor?
Oh, about this time of year is pretty much like the hill climb time of year. So like, so we got at Silverback, we got the hill climb where they do time trial passes, and then a bunch of people show up. It used to always be at Mount Baldy, and then I ran Mount Baldy once on my Razor, and my brother had the yellow Jeep. And my claim to fame was I made it up both passes. My brother only made it up one pass. So I don't want to brag about that, but that's what happened. So, but unfortunately, Mount Baldy was in the dunes, and then the dunes just kept pushing back to the spectator area, so they had to move it. And they built the hill on our track, so we do it at the track now. And I haven't got to run the massive hill at Silverback yet, but it's always a good time. You see all the buggies. It's a big show. Everyone shows up and watches it. So it should be a good time.
Definitely. And it's something a little bit different, right? Like it kind of takes things back to a raw time that sand drags really existed. I mean, we think about where sand drag started. It's riverbed racing. It was out of the dunes at the hills. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of cool to
The-
see, a return to that. And, we're just trying to let people know, like, hey, you may have a dragster, you may have a Jeep, you may have something that you run just strictly at the 300-foot flat drag facilities. There's other places and other, events that, exist out there that people can go and give a shot at. And it's cool because it gives that cross pollination. Damian, especially with what you're talking about, trying to get out in front of the monster truck crowd. What's been the kind of response? Have you talked to like a lot of the spectators and the other, the monster truck drivers? Have they shown an interest in the sport of sand drags because of that?
Well, the monster truck world, there's a few that have shown some interest in it. Not a lot. The big interest is monster trucks really developed out of Missouri, and one of their biggest events they would always get promotion was Gravel Rama in the 80s. You would see all the monster truck guys, you'd see the mud drag guys, they would all come to Gravel Rama. And like Bigfoot, some of the most famous clips of that truck are of it attempting and getting over the Eliminator Hill at Gravel Rama. That really helped stir the craze. And that was back in a period where spectators were at a fever pitch for a truck just idling over cars instead of what we see nowadays where the trucks have to cartwheel end over end to get a crowd reaction.
For sure.
But like we talked last week with Chris Galloway with the Valvoline truck, it used to be such an easier thing to see the cross pollination of the sport, especially crazy to think when the guys were running mud pits, they were more willing to come run on a 300-foot track of a smoother surface. Whereas nowadays, them guys are running 200 foot on a track that's real similar to what you see at Brookville, Michigan, Missouri, California. The only difference is the track lengths. And the big thing is the type of events that we've all been running. They've all gone more towards the fastest time, no matter how many lanes there are, fastest time wins. Which, don't get me wrong, it's cool to see a car on the edge of going to be a hand grenade, but and making the fastest passes possible. But at the same time, you only get to see that car make 2 passes, and it may win the whole show, and it got beat across the finish line by a full-size truck.
Yeah,
just like a nitrous bike. They either run really good or they just pop on the line, and then you don't get too many passes.
But yeah, and we also, with mentioning other stuff that we've seen already this year, there's been the Keys Peak Snow Hill Climb.
Yeah, I was definitely going to mention that. That was a super cool event, and we saw a big mix of people from sand and dirt drag racing kind of come to that event.
Yeah, like our sponsors, Scott and Shane Olrogi, they took a Bronco up there for racing in the dirt, one of their customer cars, and went up there, and I believe they placed in one of the classes. I'm not 100% certain. Big nitrous powered Bronco. Ryan Kerr with the Swamp Donkey. Our A Sport Modified ET record holder, Jason Benson, taking a class win. All these different styles and builds of cars, and all on a level playing field, really, in that snow.
Definitely a big equalizer. And I would say even the same thing when you're talking about those fair races, because, traction is, not at a premium at those events. You've really got to work for it a lot harder than you do at these more prepped, 300-foot facilities. So it's kind of anyone's game.
Oh yeah, the hard pack tracks, you got to think of it more like you see in the no prep world. In I need to get less tire spin and actually be planting the power down. Whereas Gravelrama, Brookville, Michigan, it's all about getting the right amount of wheel speed, because you see us all, we're launching with a lot of wheel speed in the dirt, whereas on pavement or the hard pack track, I was 2-step down to 2,500 and it was launching harder than it would launching at $5,000.
And that's all because of the surface difference there.
Oh,
You
totally.
know, and that's not to say that there isn't differences between different facilities. When you're looking at going from Brookville to Silverback, those are two wildly different surfaces, but you're still looking at a surface that you can get traction at. And
Right.
when we're looking at the snow drags, when we're looking at hill climbs, a lot of these they're loose material. You look at Gravelrama, especially for the big limiter hill, you are just fighting to grab at anything there. And
Oh,
so
totally.
it's a bit different. It is cool though to see people kind of try these different things, and we've seen everything from there's what length is that one dragster that's always trying to make it over the big limiter hill?
I believe I can't remember how long Kelly's dragster was when he went over the hill, but I believe 220 or 230 inch wheelbase dragster.
Kelly told me himself he has a record for going over the big limiter for the longest dragster, and he quote unquote broke my back.
Oh, he did. He launched that thing probably 5 foot in the air before it came down, and car with no suspension, and you're right in the middle of that thing. That's not a fun landing. And I still remember the first time I seen a dragster attempt it, and that was Ben Steele's, and that was when I was a little kid, and he got it stuck. He didn't get it quite far enough over for the front end to fall, and it looked like a big TV antenna sticking off the top of the hill. And then
yeah, but that's cool, and that's proof that just because you quote unquote don't have the vehicle that people would typically think you'd need for an event like that doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah, but there's no reason to be doing it though. But it's awesome.
Another one. Look at
there's
the
no
fastest.
reason he should be doing that. But
the fastest of the fast this weekend. There's going to be rail cars with blower motors, maybe 5-6 inches of travel. There's a guy out of the Northeast. His name is Dale Small. He runs an old Power Pro or KCD style altered chassis, 4-wheel drive with a blown big block Chevy. And he's been going after that track the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't think he's quite made it through yet. Usually runs into electrical issues about halfway through the pit. But
and you're talking about the Hill and Hole, right, Damian?
Yes, he runs the 250-foot Hill and Hole pit. And the kind of predecessor to that, there was a videos from this past weekend in Virginia. There's a track called 316 Dirt Drags. They also have a mud hop, which is a really old school type of mud race. Short mud pit, say 10-foot tall hill, short mud pit, 25-foot tall hill, and then they're gunning it off the top of that hill through about another 150 feet of mud. And you'll see
we'll have
cars.
To throw a video in here of that. It's a pretty wild setup.
Oh yeah, and these are all events that over the years you would see vehicles from the sand drag world. You'd see vehicles from the NMRO, from the USHRA, and the mud drags. And they would all try all these different events, and you'd see a lot more cross pollination than you do nowadays.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think that it's definitely something that we kind of need to get back to, because I think we kind of fall in these lanes where we get used to doing what we do. And I get it. Budgets are tight for everything, but I'm talking your local events. These are things that you're not having to go crazy far to go and do. There's like K-Dub, you're talking about at Silverback, like it's the same facility that you're going and doing the 300-foot drags at. So just things like that, it's one of those things that there's these cool opportunities. I'm looking at potentially jumping into a little bit of no bar action.
You're thinking about that? Are you getting ready for that?
I don't really have a no bar bike. I got my trike that will pop the wheelie bar off. It's probably gonna go bad, but
all you gotta do is lean forward. I'm pretty sure.
You're pretty sure.
I mean, it's not like you're going nice and slow. You're not going quite as violent as Ricky is with his new setup.
No.
Maybe.
But it's all about trying something new, and part of it is going to some new facilities and stuff. But it's kind of growing that family and talking to people, and they're looking, when you go to different events like that where you're the odd one out, they're like, what is this guy doing here? Where is he coming from? Oh, he does sand drags. Oh man, maybe I gotta go check that out. That's kind of the whole purpose with it.
Pretty much like
Oh,
showing
yeah.
up with a Banshee at Cleves. Like, they're just looking at you like, what are you doing here?
But then again, at Cleves, you'd be the only quad there racing.
This is true.
It was a good old days. I had Omar for a second, so I'd race Omar, and then we just kind of go back to our pits and then come back whenever we wanted. Now I race my Razor, or my turbo car, I should say.
Your
Yeah, you can
turbo
jump
car.
up to the cars and you can jump up to the cars and red light against me and run dead on your dial.
All I know is this year I'm coming at you, Damian, and your dad Mooch too. I don't care who it is. I'm taking you guys out. Like, you're gonna see like an 010 light out of me. I'm gonna run a 5.45 on a 5.44 dial probably, and you guys are just gonna be crying and it's pretty sad.
He's forgetting to mention the negative there.
Oh, there you go.
Just because one time I red lit by 0.0001 or whatever, and then ran directly in my dial, doesn't mean it's going to happen again. I've learned from my failures. And I'm going to come back at you. He's like, look at this trophy right here. I'm a 2022 points champion, and you don't just get one of these trophies while being good.
I've got 3 or 4 of those from Outlaw Series.
Yeah, but not from 2022. Oh, Outlaw! We're talking about Outlaw Series now. Hold on.
Oh, now you got him started, Damian.
All right, we got a pro truck
That's half
open.
the fun.
Oh, dang.
These guys that. I don't got anything else. So, all right, I'm gonna sit right back down.
All in good
coming
fun.
after you.
All in good fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fire the turbo car up tomorrow and get it ready.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think you could take the turbo car to another event we got coming up, Greens Raceway. This is the Virginia one. They've got their full-size pickup truck event coming up this coming weekend. That's going to be a little bit of a different thing. I think they tried an event like that last year, but they're really going hard into that this year. So, not only is this about, us kind of traveling, trying different races, it's these facilities trying to put on a little bit, of a different take on their racing. So, I mean,
definitely.
Damian, what do you think is going to be something that's going to be cool that you're going to see? Maybe, do you know anybody that's going to head out to that race at Greens?
I know the Zeiglers, they're taking their old Jeep. It's a Jeep they've ran since the mid '80s. This family, when they had it at the East Coast 50th, it was got a turbo Dodge motor in it. Now they've gone back to naturally aspirated. They couldn't quite get the combo figured out there, but they're heavy hitters in the bracket world up there at Lisbon track. You'll possibly see the Sand Thing, which is the 3rd gen purple Camaro from out there with the big block and a lot of nitrous. I don't know if he's still out there, but we've got a local from this area that he's living in Washington, D.C. And now when I want to say his name, my brain just drawing a blank. But he's running an old Jeep that used to be called Rapid Transit back through the 80s and 90s. And it's been his Jeep for the past 20 years.
No, Wayne's not from Washington, D.C. No, Wayne's from Georgia.
Right. God damn it. Dang it. When I want to say his name, I can't think of it. But it's a little blue flat fender Jeep. It's got the little rocket tail lights from an Oldsmobile, it looks like, in the back.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. You've seen it. It just, I can't, my brain just doesn't want to cooperate right now. But and then obviously you have all the guys that go to Newtown that'll probably hit that race up.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of them, the Beanfield truck drivers and stuff. That's, I think, more the crowd that they're going after with those truck races. But I think that, it's a good opportunity for them to get some of the, like you're saying, some of these more entrenched bracket racers from around the area to show up. And we're going to see, hopefully it's going to be a cool event for them. And we'll hopefully get some cool coverage. Maybe we get some results for you guys on next week's episode from that event.
Oh, definitely. We'll see what we can get for that. It's hopefully to see that grow. That track's more known for the bikes. And I'm talking not quads. I'm talking actual motorcycles. Guys riding nitro Harleys with no wheelie bars on the back of them.
Hell yeah.
That's K-Dub's next bike after he gets rid of the Razor.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Flamethrower and everything, right?
I'll never get rid of the turbo car. How else am I going to destroy Damian year in and year out?
Let's get you to put about 98% nitro. Let's see what that thing will really do.
All I know is I'm going to get all the boost going while I'm chugging down track, and then I'm going to burp the crap out of you, Damian. Like burp, 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 burp. Then get that victory light going.
Crazy to think, between you, your brother, and Ricky, the only one with a winning record against me is Ricky.
What's that? How the hell's Ricky beat you?
I red lighted.
What was Ricky racing?
He was driving Craig Gumb's dragster.
Oh, okay. Good old Craig Gump. Craig Gump said a baby. Congratulations, Craig.
Hey,
Yeah.
congrats, Craig.
I guess everyone's doing good over there, so I'm pretty happy about that. But how do you lose to Ricky?
Ricky's gonna have to come on next week and defend himself here.
Yeah,
You guys
no,
are
I told
bullying
Ricky.
him.
I
That's
told
the
Ricky, I was
only
like,
time
the only
me
time I'd
and
ever
him
go
ever
on Panel
raced,
Talks
too.
with you back on it. And then
I've-
I don't know
I've-
how
I've
I got
never
back
gotten-
on it.
I've never gotten a chance to get that win back because he sold his dragster before he ever raced it.
Right?
I can't believe Ricky Thorpe. So hold on. I can't believe Ricky Thorpe owned a Top Fuel dragster for like a good 5 seconds. It was like 1 minute he owned it. I'm like, sweet. The next minute he sold it. Like, what is going on? That thing was badass. So he like redid everything. Did the motor, the chassis thing's awesome.
Oh,
Chassis
yeah.
in Ohio, I guess.
Yeah, currently the Coles have it and it's for sale.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
But-
man, come on now. You're going
But
all
yeah,
over the place.
If Ricky would have gotten through with getting that car together and running, we all know Ricky would have eventually gotten that car running pretty damn fast.
Oh yeah.
I had to see it wasn't really a good fit for him, but so like going back to the bikes, I think it's a better fit for him. And then Top Fuel cars, like it could blow up, and then holy crap, he could have out so much money. But I think that thing would have been like a 3.0 car. I mean, it would look like it was put together pretty well.
It just takes time.
It would have taken a little time because I know that was an ex Wade Powell car, and you know he went through the motor and everything. I know Wade had been like a 3.0, you know, mid 3.0 to low 3.0 with it out here. My concern was always in, you know, the Michigan sand. I wasn't sure that Ricky was going to be able to get there. I think he would have been a better fit for the 325 class, not top eliminator with it. That's my take here nor there because Ricky sold the thing, so we can't even find out what he would have really got down to.
Yeah, what can you do? Someone buy that car, buy the original motor, hit up Travis Oaks, put it all back together, and let us know what it runs.
There we go. Yeah, let's do it.
Definitely.
And then maybe someone will take that up the Monson Hill climb.
Possibly.
I would not recommend that, folks. Let's actually jump over there. Let's jump over there. We spoke with Mark Crossway, and he is going to tell us a little bit about what it actually takes to put a car up over that hill. And I will say, guys, it's going to take something a little bit stronger than the little spindly dragster. So let's jump over with Mark Crossway with the Monson Hill climb.
Hey, folks, this episode of Paddle Talk brought to you by Racing in the Dirt coming out of Wisconsin. Scott and Shane O'Rogie and the crew up there, your source for all kinds of good stuff. They are real wheel dealers. They are also scat track dealers. They can do cut tires, everything from ground up chassis builds to all your supplies needed to get that car together in the last couple weeks here for racing season. Check them out on the internet, racinginthedirt.com, on Facebook. You can find them or get a hold of them directly.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a very special guest here with us today. Joining me is Damian Bowers, along with Mark Crossway. Mark, you are the 4x4 coordinator and tech person for the Monson Hill Climb. That's put on in association with the Quabog Riders, a club that dates all the way back to 1944. And obviously, you haven't been around in the entirety of this, but tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved with the Monson Hill Climb, some of the racing that you've done in the past, and just kind of tell our audience, you know, where you come from.
Well, I started racing probably in about 1986. First thing I ever did was ice racing and got me hooked. I went home, bought a Jeep, put a small block Ford in it, and went to Monson Hill Climb. Drove into place and I said, "That's not a hill; it's a cliff." And I've been racing there since then. It probably took me 2 years before I ever got over the top, and I've now set the track record there and backed it up several times. Um, we do anywhere from 2 events to 4 events a year for trucks and 2 to 4 events for motorcycles.
Gotcha.
Right. And
And
those
Danny?
motorcycle events, I know you mentioned beforehand, the motorcycle events are actually mostly AMA events dating again back to 45, 46.
Correct. The AMA came on board in 45, 46. We were established in 44. And we started off with what they called hare scrambles, which was through the woods. And then in 45, 46, started doing hill climbs.
And then
And
at
then
what point did the truck racing kind of come into that?
the truck started in like very early 70s, as far as we can find out. And it was run by a couple different organizations. You know, they basically rented the track, and we've been doing it ever since. We've been running it ourselves as Quabog riders for a long time.
Gotcha. And you said you started out with a small block Ford Jeep. What other vehicles have you had kind of as your time racing with the Monson Hill Climb?
I then built a blown alcohol injected small block Chevy and a rail car that I ran there for years and set a track record, which is still held. I've got several other off-road trucks that we race there, and my fiance drives one of them. She goes over the top of the hill with it.
That's awesome. And we'll have to put up a video here showing some people. This is, like you said, it's not so much of a hill as it is a cliff. This is a serious, serious hill climb. And you guys do basically 2 different configurations with it, right? You do a side-by-side hill drag and then a basically just trying to summit the thing. And you guys have, over the years, you've had a couple different humps in it, basically. So tell us a
Yes.
little bit about the setup with that and the racing format.
So the first hill is approximately 45 degrees uphill. We run a pro tree. It's side by side. It's 170 feet, but you only have so many feet to shut down before you hit the rest of the hill.
Mm.
So we go through all our classes from stock to super unlimited, and then we break the hill down and we do single elimination times over the top. We have a different set of wireless lights. We all start in the same exact spot. You trip a light, you go up over the top with two transitions in the hill, and the top hill is probably 78 degrees, if not a little bit better.
Oh wow. That's pretty much straight up as much as you can
Yes.
get.
That last part is steeper than the hill at Cleves.
Right. When we do side by side, it's probably like Cleve's side by side.
Just a bit longer.
Probably a bit longer, yeah.
Gotcha. But still having that same situation of like, okay, you can only stay in it so long before you have to start braking before you meet that first crest. So there's a little bit of
Correct.
strategy there.
Yep. And like Cleve's, the top of our hill, we call it the graveyard, because if you don't let off, you're could be in a grave.
Now, there's definitely been some hairy situations from the videos we've seen. So tell us a little bit. You say you got from stock to super modified. Tell us a little bit about the classes that you guys run and kind of being the head tech person, some of the things that you see typical within those classes.
So our stock classes, we don't have too many anymore. They're supposed to be street legal, plate on them. They just do the first part of the hill. They don't do the second. Then we jump to a modified, which we have a modified tough truck class. So it's a modified truck with our what we call tough trucks, which is our wheel to wheel trucks. We put those in there because they're a little bit heavier because they got more cage and Nerf bars. And then we jump right from there to experimental A, which is a small block car on anything from a square tube chassis down with no adders at all. Then we jump right up there to a big block class, which is square tube chassis. And then we go to super unlimited, which is round tube chassis and injection, no blowers. Then we go to super unlimited, which is any chassis, any tire with blowers or injection.
Oh, wow. So it goes
Definitely some tool runs.
Yeah, so you get some pretty aggressive step ups there from the stock class to the super unlimited. And so
Yes.
in your blower truck, you actually held the track record for the over the top or for the hill
For
side by side.
over the top on the old hill, which is one step, which
Gotcha.
it's never going to get touched again. Where there's two of us that are in contentions for the new track record on a new hill, and we're like a tenth apart. I'm not even sure who it is. We have to go back someday and look at it.
Gotcha. And that's with the new setup, with it being the 2-step
Yes,
big hill.
correct.
Very cool.
And it's definitely something to watch. There's not many hill climbs that really have the stair steps. Lisbon's about the only other one I know of, and it's nowhere near as steep of a hill, and their transitions are a lot shallower. Your guys' hill, it's almost square edge. Watching those transitions, watching the guys, they barely crest it, almost come to a stop, and then gun it to try and get up that next hill.
Correct. And sometimes that's where it gets a little, it's a little weird because sometimes they roll them, sometimes they don't. And we have to build the hill to keep the water from coming down the hill too fast also. We're always, that's always part of the job is making the hill so the water doesn't come down in the road. So, which makes it tougher for us to go up.
Gotcha. Right. Those little ruts and whatnot, the waterways can make you go to Cleves anytime that we're not getting ready to run for gravel. You see that same thing happen to all the hills, that pea gravel. Because from the videos I've seen, is that the kind of surface that hill is, or what actually is it?
Oh, it's a combination of sand, but it's got a lot of rocks in it. I mean, there's times that when we build the hill, the day before, we don't build it, but we groom it the day before. We have to send people up there and kick out the big rocks.
Oh, definitely.
I can tell you how much damage I've done to my truck, but it gets pretty bad up there.
I believe that.
So speaking of, obviously there's some peril there. What are for something like this with that 2-step hill there, is there anything that you do specifically as far as setup different than for the side-by-side drags or any kind of flat drag, fast track setup?
My car is I use it for everything. So you have to build for our hill, you have to build it very strong. You can break parts very easily. My car, believe it or not, does not break very often. We've had some rock crawlers come up with huge suspension, and they do awesome because they have 18, 24 inches of travel, and they can hit the transitions 10 times harder than I can.
Right.
But we've had people do the drags and they too fast and they slide into the first hill and they tear the car apart.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, we've seen some videos of some people definitely sliding over that first crest and it not being a very pretty sight.
No, it's not. And there is a difference between a blower car and an injected car. When I take my foot off the pedal on a blower car, shutting the flaps off slows the car right down. An ejected car just keeps rolling. And some of the guys think that they have to drive past the finish line. Well, when you get to the finish line, you're supposed to be on the brakes.
I see that all the time here at Gravel Rama on the hill drags. People
Yeah,
drive
oh,
it
yeah.
to the crest.
Yep. Yeah, and
Yeah,
we
you
all
said
know what
it's
happens then.
yeah, you said it's 170 foot, and they try driving it like it's a 250-foot course, and you don't have that much room.
No, not at all.
And then
So,
sorry, go ahead.
all right. So our overall, the whole hill overall is, we've always called it a 400-foot hill. Our drags are 170, and the rest makes it up. I mean, our lights aren't at the top; they're down, I don't know, 20, 30 feet. So, but
Right.
we've always advertised it as 400 foot from day one, and so it's, it's a good hill,
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, it
that's
is
huge.
massive.
and it
And
does
then
it robs horsepower. People think, oh, that's nothing. Well, they don't make the bottom half.
well, it sounds like you've got a steep incline, some loose material, and then like you're talking about having to slam on the brakes, at the first hill. What's it like at the top crest? I mean, we've seen some people where it looks like they're going and flying over into nowhere. So what actually is at the top, and what's it like actually going over it?
Going over it, you got to go up and over. You can't high center the car; it'll get stuck. But you can't fly it too high, which I've gone up and turned around and come back on the front tires.
Ooh.
And wrap the steering wheel around the column. But there's plenty of room up there. You got to land, and it's flat. Well, it's flat. And it actually goes downhill away from you. So, and then you probably got 150 feet of shutdown up there, but you don't need shutdown, because once you land, you're basically stopped.
Gotcha. Yeah, especially
Right.
with how soft it is at the top, I'm sure.
And
Definitely.
we have a payloader or dozer up there if you get stuck, to pull you over.
Don't have to back down like we do down here.
You don't have to, but with the new hill, it's, if you're stuck, it's easier just to back down. It takes you 2 seconds to back it down, but if you don't know what you're doing, we pull you over.
Okay.
And then do you guys have like a return lane up at the top to get back down, or do you kind of have to go back down the way you came up?
No, we have a return road, which is usually where you do half your damage, because there's so many rocks. Oh, I've bent wheels there, and shock mounts and oil pans, everything.
What is that? What kind of like equipment do you guys use to even build and maintain both the side by side and the big hill?
Basically, bulldozers do most of it, and then we have loaders and a combination machine to dig out. The bottom of the hill is actually a silt pond. When we're not using it, the bottom of the hill gets dug out, and that's where all the silt comes down and stays there. And then we have water that comes off of there that's all filtered, and we dig that out, before our race. And we actually, it's been pumped out all week, so it should be dry. And Saturday morning we'll start working on it. Takes two guys.
Okay.
When the hill's not too bad, takes 2 guys on 2 dozers, 4 to 5 hours to put the hill together.
That's
And then a
not
couple
bad
other
at all,
guys.
honestly.
No, it's not a lot.
Yeah,
But we've
I
got
honestly expected that would be a lot more work to get that set up, just knowing kind of what goes into Gravel Rama with them being the big hill set up. That's actually not too bad.
well, Gravel they build that hill every year. I guess it comes apart. So
Yeah. Mother Nature takes its toll on a freestanding pile of pea gravel.
right.
Well, super cool.
So
And yep, go ahead,
I was
Damon.
I was going to ask something a little bit about earlier, because on this we don't really hear much about the ice racing. What kind of ice racing was it you were doing, and then what did you have for that, and have you done any of that similar stuff since?
We do ice racing basically in Lake George, New York. It's on a lake. But the past, I don't know, 20 years, it's probably only frozen a couple times. I run my Jeep there. I have a set of 38-inch cut mud tires full of screws, probably 500 screws per tire.
Oh wow.
It'll pick the left front tire off the ground on ice.
Oh wow.
That's impressive.
So we have a guy in New York that when there's ice, he'll run it. But it doesn't happen too much anymore, just the way the weather is.
Right.
Years ago, we had a guy in New York that had a sand track, and he ran ice races way back then. He's no longer with us, but he had a sand track, and he would flood the sand track. So if we didn't have Lake George, we would go to the track.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and one year, I guess they did it in a parking lot in Lake George, but it wasn't very safe.
I can
Actually,
imagine.
somebody I know, I guess, hit a tree. So,
Ooh.
Not fun.
And
Sorry
then-
to laugh about that, but
well, it's funny. But we also do we've done snow hill climbs around here on ski slopes, which is with Randy Oakley for Vermonster. He's put several on over the years, which is
very,
one of the ultimate blasts I've ever had.
very similar to something we covered here recently with the Keys Peak hill climb up in Wisconsin. A lot of the people
Correct.
that used to do the Schuss Mountain Snow Challenge in Michigan go do that.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Just a long ride.
It's
We hear that.
10 hours from here.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine for you.
So I've actually run the snow hill climbs with both my Jeep and the blower car, and the blower car was a blast. I mean, we had 2 lanes and one of them wasn't safe, and we were supposed to alternate. And Randy says, "You're just staying in this lane. I'm not putting you over there. The car is too fast." It was a blast. You couldn't stay in the throttle very long. And every time you touch the throttle, just carry the front end.
Wow.
Well, Mark, out of doing both snow and like a sand hill climb, what do you think is the funner ride?
No,
Snow for
it's
sure.
a blast. It's a blast. Man-made snow isn't like real snow. It's unbelievable. It's got so much hook. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man-made snow tends to be a bit wetter and heavier from what I understand.
Yeah. You got guys that go out there and they check it in the morning when it's ice cold and the sun hasn't come up and they put studs on. I go out there and I go, I'm putting scoops on. And the scoops they just go.
Yeah, we definitely saw at that Keys Peak race, a race that Damian was talking about. Lots of people with scoops on it. Seems to work pretty well in the snow for sure.
Yeah. I would love to make it out there once.
It definitely looks like a fun time.
Damian, you don't do that at all?
I have not been able to do that. I got some suspension changes I'd like to make my Jeep a little sturdier before I go do something like that. Because I tend to even avoid the big eliminator anymore. It's hard on parts. I love the hill, but I've had my fill of it. So It's one of those deals.
Well, when I go to Gravel-Rama, that's why I go for that big hill.
And that's why I tend to try and tell the club every time they talk about, oh, we don't want to do the big hill. It costs too much. That'd kill Gravel-Rama in a heartbeat, getting rid of that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the big spectacles. I mean, even, it looks like, Mark, with your guys' event and the Monson Hill climb, it sure seems like the actual big hill is the main attraction. Between the side-by-side drags and the big hill, what do you have a better time racing?
I used to race a bunch of classes on the side-by-side, and I hold off on only on 1 or 2 now just to save the Jeep for the top. To go over the top for me is just a Sunday drive. I love it.
So we get the veteran over here, it just gets a little bit easier, I'm sure.
Yeah,
what was it like your first time going over the hill though? I mean, was that with this Jeep or was that back with the blower car?
No, it was with a Jeep. It was basically this setup, different body, a little shorter. Ford powered still. I've always been Ford powered, other than the blower car. It actually probably took me 2 years before I made it over. And once I made it over, then I just started getting bigger and better. And everybody says, "Hey, you got to walk up to the top and look down." I went, "Nope, never doing it." And if you go up top right now and look down, it's scary.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You're looking
I've
straight down.
been to the big hill at Gravel Realm, and just looking up or down that hill, it just seems like there's no way that anybody gets up this. And I have to imagine that as steep as you guys are, even at the bottom of the hill, it's got to look like just an impossible task.
Correct. Oh, I remember 25, 30 years ago running down the big hill at Gravel Rama. I wouldn't even want to look down it right now.
Do you have any
It's
advice for anybody that is planning on coming out to the Monson Hill Climb for the first time, both for the side by side drags and for the big hill? Just things that you found after trying as many years as you did before being able to summon it. What was it that finally was the key to success?
It's all about timing. Back in the day, my Jeep, I used to take the nose off every time to go over the top of the hill, just because I could look down and see the front tire where it was. I don't do that anymore because it's all in my head now. I don't know. I must count. I probably close my eyes and count, as I don't. It just does it now.
kind of a
But
rhythm.
it's all a timing thing, and you can't look. Sometimes you can't look out the front of the car. You got to look sideways and look to see where you're at, because you can't see it.
Hmm.
No, that makes sense, especially of how steep you are. I mean, you're really not going to be able to tell exactly where you're at, so that does make sense. Looking out the side is probably a better indicator.
Correct. I've had a lot of friends of mine that took the videos home and watched me go over the top. Because you have to drive it all the way in and then slam the brakes on, slide it in, and pull a gear down, and then hit the hill. And you can't be afraid to break the car. If you're afraid to break the car, you're not going to make time.
Gotcha. And so you guys
Definitely.
still, even with the big hill, you guys are doing this by class, correct?
We have two classes over the top. It's called non-nitrous and down and nitrous and up. It's just kind of the way we split it. I run both classes. Nitrous up there doesn't help you much. It helps you on a drag. It helps you get up the first section, the first 170 or 200 feet. But after that, nitrous, you don't need all the motor up there, because it's, not with a new hill, it's just short, a little short stretches. You just a little burp and you're there. And
That makes sense.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's probably more the suspension setup. Like you're saying, those big, the rock crawlers that came over there that were finding success. I'd imagine just for those transitions.
yeah, they were hitting those things like you wouldn't believe. And they're all younger guys, so they can handle their back hurting too much.
And with what you were saying with nitrous and non-nitrous, I'm actually looking at the results from one of the events last year, and the non-nitrous time by a guy Dwayne Pafumi,
Yep.
his best time was a 9.409 in the nitrous class. In the non-nitrous class, Jim Vincic, he had a best time of a 9.257. So over such a long hill, only 2/10 separating the classes of non-nitrous and nitrous. That's impressively close.
Correct. And Jim and I are good friends, and last year I think both races he beat me by a 10th over the top. And we also pay out for fastest time of the day over the top. So
Oh wow!
he got it twice last year. I didn't get it.
Gotcha. So
At least
what
that gives something people to aim for.
But he's also running a big block with nitrous, and I'm running a small block with nothing.
Ah,
So for a 10th difference, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I would
Totally.
definitely. So Mark, what as far speaking of, kind of like payouts and stuff, and so what does it cost as far as like entry fees? What do you guys do as far as payouts? You mentioned that bonus for being the fastest time. What does that kind of all look like?
So the stock classes up to modified, they're $25 a class. We pay back 100% plus a little bit. Experimental on up is $50 a class, and we pay out 100% plus part of the gate.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Probably at least $1,000 out of the gate for the top classes.
That's not something you see normally in sand or mud racing, really.
No, it's not. But I mean, there's been times where we've had so much rain that, you know, it wasn't worth racing and there wasn't enough cars. And, you know, here I'm a racer and I'm running it. And I went, well, we got to do something. So they just came up and they said, we'll pay you guys to race, period. No pay in. We'll just pay you to win. You know, that happened once. Doesn't happen very often, but they wanted to put a show on for the spectators that came out in the rain.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which,
That's
how many spectators do you guys get at one of these events?
600 to 1,000 is a number.
It's doing pretty
that's
good.
pretty solid.
Last year we should have called the race, both races last year because of the rain. And it was my call and everything. We looked at the weather. Okay, it's going to stop by 11 o'clock. Well, it monsooned both days, all day.
Oof.
I had been walking around. I had work boots on. I was walking around in 6 inches of water in the pits.
We both have
Yikes.
been there before.
So
maybe not quite that deep, but
well, I was at Gravel Rama years and years ago, and we got, I think it was like 7 inches of water in 2 hours. And I remember walking from where I was camping with Tina and Frank, walking down the hill with a tarp, and I was over my ankles in water running down the hill.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember if that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Gravel Rama still gets pretty wet because it's always hot, muggy, and humid.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since the event Gravel Rama itself has had a huge, really bad rain like that to where the track is flooded at Gravel Rama. Normally that's the last blast of the spring race.
well, speaking of the weather, how are we looking for this event? We've got your guys' truck race coming up here this coming weekend, the 21st of April.
Well, we're looking at it pretty close. It's getting better as we get closer. Looks like we might get some showers Saturday morning, which is okay. Even a shower Saturday night is okay. We just want, it's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be 50 degrees on Sunday. Oh, maybe, she just said a little warmer now. So 60 degrees with minimal rain would be perfect.
There you go.
Good horsepower weather.
Correct.
There you go. Yep. Well, hopefully we're gonna have, you know, the weather hold off well enough that you guys can have a full event there. Otherwise, you guys do. It looks like for this year, you guys are doing another one for the trucks in the fall, October 13th. Correct?
Correct. And I just took out an insurance policy and I put a rain date in. And what they did this year, instead of us giving us a rain date, they wrote us a policy from the first race to the last race, so we can race anytime in between.
Oh,
So
cool.
we possibly might put another event in. We don't know. Our treasurer sort of thinks that we make more money on 2 than we do on 3 or 4. But I don't know.
Sometimes that's the way it is, you know. You get 2 big ones versus trying to spread everything out, you know. Just also depends on obviously other events going on that people might be going to instead of yours.
Right. We just lost 2 mud tracks locally to us, you know, in one state away. Same guy owns both tracks. They're both circle tracks with mud events and a sand event at one of them. And his lawyer said, you know what, it's probably not worth it financially to do this anymore in case something happens. So that's 2 tracks gone.
So potentially there's gonna be a lot of people that are itching to race, you know, maybe do something different, and hopefully gonna come out to Massachusetts.
We've gotten a few of them before, but not a lot of them. Mud racing is different. It's a different tire class, all different rules. You know, it's all
Definitely.
per tires and suspension and stuff. Where ours, I don't know, it's a little different.
For sure. No, we've definitely been big advocates for trying to get, a little bit more of a crossover between the sand and mud worlds. And, I think that events like, the Monson Hill climb here, those are kind of the perfect bridge point because it's a little bit different for both crowds, that are typically, used to doing, mud bogs versus sand drags. It just kind of, it's a good even playing field, I think.
Correct. And anybody that brings a car to us, I'll go over it and I will put you in hopefully 2 classes that you somewhat fit. I bend rules drastically just to get cars to race. You know, it's and I'll go to a driver's meeting and go, listen, I let this car in this class because, and it's what it is. I want everybody racing.
Sure.
Oh, definitely. It's not like you're going to put a car that completely doesn't fit the class that's going to run away with a class. You're gonna, okay, you fit here, but and might be competitive, but you're not going to take off and just defeat everybody.
Correct. We are
And
a
I know-
four-wheel drive. We are a four-wheel drive event, and I've got a couple two-wheel drive cars that come up once in a while. I go, I'll put you somewhere, and I'll give you an expo run, and they're all happy about it.
Yeah, that works.
Now, how many two-wheel drive cars have been over the top? Has there been a few that have been over the top, or is there not been one done it yet?
We've had four-wheel drive cars and two-wheel drive go over the top, yes. But two-wheel drive cars, I know I've been over the top in two-wheel drive several times.
Okay.
One time I was there and I had my blower car and I had somebody else driving my Jeep. It was already back on a trailer and I broke the blower car, I think. And I said, unstrap my Jeep. I'm taking that over the top. Well, they had already unlocked the hubs. I took off and I go, I just said, something doesn't feel right, but whatever. So yeah, I've been over it.
I was just about to ask if that was two-wheel drive on purpose or by accident.
We had a guy build a truck. You mentioned his name earlier. He had an S10 and he had a front end in it and he had a drive shaft hanging, but he had no transfer case or chain drive. He got away with it for a while. Because we all know two-wheel drive cars can be faster.
Oh yeah. Either way, I personally, like here at Gravel-Rama, since East Coast no longer sanctions Gravel-Rama, we have gone to allowing the two-wheel drive cars to fit in wherever they fit in the classes, because it's all a matter of what the car is built to do. If it's built to be a four-wheel drive car, it's going to work better four-wheel drive. If it's built to be two-wheel drive, it's obviously going to work better in two-wheel drive.
Right.
Yeah. So besides being a four-wheel drive car, and you got your classes kind of breaking things down as far as chassis, motor, power adders and things like that. As far as like the safety rules and stuff goes, what are you looking for as the technical director, just to make sure that these cars are built well enough to withstand this monster?
First thing, the cages have to be built correctly. Everything's got to be the chassis. A little less for the side-by-side hill drag, a lot more for over the top. Over the top, if you roll, you're not stopping for quite a while. All cars have to have a fire extinguisher and 5-point harness, fire suits, helmets, kill switches, front and rear, one for you, one for us in the rear. Yeah, we don't slack on safety at all. And like Damian asked me earlier about, I have steel plates or aluminum roofs on all my cars. It's in our rules. I didn't even pay attention to it, but it is there. So anything with an open roof is supposed to have a steel plate, aluminum plate, or a roof of some sort if it's not stock. And that's
that
basically
makes sense. Yeah.
And and when you asked me that, Damian, I looked at your car and, I also put some sort of X in my roof, and which makes the cage a lot stronger.
Well, since the last time you have been down to gravel, so about 3 years ago, we actually put in a half funny car halo, kind of extend the top a little bit. We put a lot more cage in our car since we really started upping our own performance and what we've been doing. We decided to keep up in the safety as much as we can.
Yeah. Because what
Yeah.
we say down here is it's not if you go over, it's when you go over.
And that's definitely a mindset. And like I also mentioned to you earlier, having a top on the roof, that's a rule that the first time I'd ever heard about that rule was watching old mud bog videos. And it was a bigger rule out in California, but it carried over a lot of places in the country. Is the mud boggers would make them have some kind of roof or plate or something over top of the Jeep cages, the open cages, because they would flip in the mud pits, and they actually had instances of people almost drowning in mud bogs.
Right. Or they think and break their neck.
Exactly.
No, and I could definitely see that with your guys' kind of that loose sand material and stuff there. That's not something that you want to get quite buried in, so it makes a lot of sense to actually have a roof enforcement on there. In addition to, you know, the strong cage to make sure that it's not going to buckle as you're rolling back down.
One thing I didn't mention is we do have a buggy class at Monson. It's in our rules. You know, it's for like, you know, a sand rail buggy. We
Right.
had them competing for us for years and years. We haven't had any of them in there for years. So we do have a 2-wheel drive buggy class,
Oh,
and that's
cool.
totally separate. And they used to go over the top, and they had some fast times, but we haven't had one in, I don't know, 15, 20 years probably.
Volkswagen crowd up that way kind of died down, did it?
Yeah. Yep. They were both old timers. I don't think they're probably neither one are probably around anymore.
Same thing for the buggies. Also require a roof.
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully, if you guys are, you know, a buggy racer in the Massachusetts area, April 21st, head on out to the Monson Hill Climb. Get some buggy racers back out there. We'll hopefully get a few extra people jumping in that class.
And we also, I mean, we've had side-by-side guys ask if they could come out and race. And all we tell them is you bring 3 cars, we'll make a class for you. But side-by-sides, the stock cages are not very strong. So to do the side-by-side hill, that's one thing. To do over the top, you have to go from there. You have to go to an aftermarket cage.
That makes 100% sense. We actually just with another interview we recently had with Silverback Off-Road Speedway, we saw an instance with a stock cage at one of their events that didn't turn out super well. So big advocates of safety here, and I would definitely agree. If you're going to go and do something as serious as the over-the-top class, an aftermarket cage is the way to go.
Anything with that in the side by side, the speeds they're getting up to is absurd.
Yeah, when we had our off-road track, we had side-by-sides there, and guys would go out and just flop one over nice and easy, and that was it. Cage was done. You know, it would collapse, and they're made for one shot and one shot only, and we were really shying away from them anyways.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Mark, what other events do you have kind of going on besides the two scheduled events at least right now for the Monson Hill Climb? What other events are you looking at making this year?
We're thinking about maybe Proving Grounds up in Maine, which is Randy Oakley. It's Proving Grounds. I don't know what he's calling it now. Something else. Maniac. It's a large facility. He caters mostly to mega trucks, but we've brought our off-road trucks to his events before, and he'll build us a track and we'll race there too. And I'll get out and run it for him with his help. And they do the mega trucks, they do freestyle, they do off-road trucks as freestyle, and then we do fast drags, which is where I go for.
Gotcha.
Definitely sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they put on a good show, and then Saturday night they bring a band in and a big bonfire, and it's a big party.
Yeah, sounds like a blast. And where is that located again?
It's in Lebanon, Maine,
Lebanon.
run by Randy Oakley, who ran Vermonster 4x4. He's been around, I don't know. He's been around about 20 years now, I think.
Oh yeah, Vermonster used to be one of the big names in mud and monster trucks. They'd always have 3 or 4 very large or decently named monster trucks. Not always like Bigfoot or Gravedigger, but you'd see Ghost Rider, Toasaurus Rex, and a few others out there.
Super cool. Any other things you want to tell people about the Monson Hill Climb? Where can people find out a little bit more information about the event, and a good way to maybe contact you for technical questions?
Everything's on Monson.monster. It's our website. All the rules are out there. All about us is out there. We have an event page that's on Facebook. If somebody reaches out on that, they get right to me.
Perfect.
Okay.
Cool.
We'll
plug that in right here as well, so that people can check it out, because I would definitely want to see some new people, out, come out to your way and try something new.
And if you're mentioning my full name, find me on Facebook and friend request me or ask me a question. And because the rules are the rules, but there are always room for a variance.
open to interpretation.
Correct. Bottom of all our rules that we can change the rules as we want.
There you go.
And
well, thank you very much, Mark, for joining us today. You guys can check out, again, Mark said, check out Monson.monster for all the rules for the Monson Hill Climb. Send Mark any questions that you have as far as the tech stuff. And we hope to see some guys out there and try this gnarly hill climb. Thank you again, Mark, for joining us.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Hey, folks, this episode of Paddle Talk brought to you by Racing in the Dirt, coming out of Wisconsin. Scott and Shane O'Rogie and the crew up there, your source for all kinds of good stuff. They are real wheel dealers. They are also scat track dealers. They can do cut tires, everything from ground up chassis builds to all your supplies needed to get that car together in the last couple weeks here for racing season. Check them out on the internet, racinginthedirt.com, on Facebook. You can find them or get a hold of them directly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you again to Mark Crossway for that awesome interview talking about the Monson Hill Climb. Lots of history of that event, pretty wild one, and definitely something that hopefully we can see a few more sand racers hit up. Speaking of events that we want to hit up, let's kind of go around the room here and just say like what the next event that we're planning on making. Damian, what's the next race you're planning on going to?
Well, right now the plan is to go down to Little Sandy Raceway next weekend for their full-size madness. Hopefully get down there and run Friday night, run the test and tune, maybe see if they're, depending on who all shows up, maybe running the quick 8. And then on Saturday, entering the bracket class. Who knows, maybe me and my dad can run close enough to the split where one of us can run in the fast class and one of us run in the slow class.
Awesome. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that race on next week's episode. So we'll have some more conversations about that. K-Dub, tell us what's the next event you're planning on making?
I'm pretty much just preparing for the season. Silverback's season's going to be started Memorial Day, and I'm going to try to get another points championship. 2022. I'm going to try to get 2024 this time. I got the turbo car out there in my trailer. Going to run 5.4s. Probably destroy my brother. Probably destroy John Sorg. Who else? Damian's going to come up the track eventually. Then I'm going to destroy him. His dad's going to double duty. Probably destroy Mooch. Who else do I get? Portinga's running the open mod class. That's not for the point championship, but I'm probably gonna get the Portingas, all the Portinga girls. So I also got a Banshee putting together. So stock cylinder and a stock frame. Should run 4.2s in pro. And then I got my laundry list of people who I'm gonna race there. The Ross, Stephanie Ross. She has a new build coming out. I'm gonna destroy her. Ricky Thorpe's gonna come to this track, probably light him up. Eric Eschbaugh. Obviously, I'm gonna take out him and whatever bike he's gonna bring out, lay down. Banshee,
So are you just going through your friends list
Snowmo,
here?
Hayabusa. So who else is gonna be? The 9 Heises, Goodells, they're gonna be there running 3.2s while I'm running 4.3s. Wait a full second of that tree. Gonna light them all up. I mean, it's gonna be pretty easy.
Now,
Who
who
else?
beat you out last year for that trophy?
Say that again. What did you say?
Now, who beat you out last year for that trophy?
Last year, I don't like to talk about last year too much because I'm always out of the future. So definitely not my brother because I'm pretty sure I destroyed my brother every time I race him. My brother is in that 2-wheel drive yellow Jeep, and then he just gets nervous when he races me. I don't know why, but I'm looking forward to the race season. It's going to be fun. Silverback all year. We're going to go down to Cleves. Cleves is going to be fun. For PSCA, Pro Sand Rags Association, I'm not going to be at the first one, but it's going to be at Shelton's Memorial Day. It's going to be a good one for you guys who want to come out to that. And then obviously I took my vacation for Gilbert. I'm going to go down to Gilbert. And then that's way later down the road, though. So we don't need to talk about that here. But I can't wait for this race season. I'm actually kind of excited. It's April. You feel like you feel like all winter it's not going to come up on you. Next thing you know, you're a month away. So
Totally.
in closing, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Now,
Can you guys tell that K-Dub's a true Michiganite and he's a little stir crazy right now?
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
are you gonna make it to the hill climb and get us some coverage for that?
The hill climb, I want to say yes. I gotta look at my schedule. But if I'm there, I'll get some video for you guys. I feel like I'm working around. You know what? I think I'm off hill climb and I'm working the next weekend for the UTV race. So I think I will be at the hill climb for Mother's Day weekend. And I can get you guys some video, but we'll see. But if I'm there, I'll definitely take some video because I'll just be hanging out. So it should be fun.
K-Dub, you also got to promise you go live when you send it over the hill in the Razor.
Oh yeah, I definitely took a lot. I definitely took a video of me racing a Razor because when you run 5.4s, you got time to take video. So
I'm more surprised you just ain't got a mug in there, just going down the track with an open helmet.
hold on. Let me show you guys my new helmet.
Oh no!
All right, I'm back. This is what I'm bringing my Razor all year. Hold on, boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Oh man, fighter jet.
I cannot wait.
Like I said, no alcohol, but you'll have a drink on board going down the track looking at the guy passing you.
Yeah, I won't be drinking while I race. I'll have that bottle of champagne in my trailer ready to pop. So it'll be good time.
I'm gonna have to call you Maverick now, man, with that fighter jet helmet there.
I can't wait to look over at Brian McWhite as I'm burping the crap out of him and then just
flip the visor up and down.
kind of is a salute, like good challenge, but it's not enough.
So how about you, Caleb?
Probably the next event that I'm actually going to be hitting up is the NBC Motorsports are putting on an event that I wanted to go to last year and wasn't able to. They've got a dirt drag event calling it the Wild West Shootout in the Lagrange, not sure how to pronounce it, fairgrounds. So that's going to be a little bit of a different race for me. It's going to be all heads up stuff. Probably going to run the 250R no bar, which is going to be interesting. That thing's no suspension. I've never run anything no bar. So if I kill myself, you guys know what happened. Don't show up on the next podcast.
I'll say some good things at your funeral, like Caleb died doing what he loved.
Definitely.
But that'll probably be the next event that I'll be at. It'll be something cool, a little bit different, and I'm excited about it. I'm gonna try to see about getting out to Avenal. But we're working on that, so hopefully we'll have a definitive answer here sooner or later because I'd love to get some coverage of that event as well. with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this week's episode of Paddle Talk. Thanks again. My name's Caleb Mings, brought to you guys with Damian Bowers, Kyle Wiedmayer. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Paddle Talk. We'll see you next time.